This is Cyberpunk 2077. It's an upcoming video game from CD Projekt Red based on the cult classic tabletop role-playing game from Mike Pondsmith that lets you be a stylish renegade in a corporate dystopia using cybernetic implants to hack the planet while people call you things like Chumbada. But it's not just a work of fiction. Our cyberpunk future is already happening. Welcome to Explainiac. I'm Dan Casey, and on today's episode we're breaking down our cultural obsession with the cyberpunk genre and looking at how what was once science fiction is quickly becoming science fact. Now when you think of cyberpunk, what comes to mind? A grimy megacity where it's constantly raining and people in vinyl jackets and metal arms are basked in bisexual neon lighting that just emits from the cathode ray tubes of massive corporate advertisements written in Japanese characters? Is it transhumanism, vast wealth inequality, androids walking among us? When it comes to cyberpunk for me, I can think of no better example than Harrison Ford eating ramen noodles in a trench coat. First coined by writer Bruce Bethke in his 1980 short story Cyberpunk, the genre often feels like the sci-fi expansion pack for pulp detective fiction that was popularized by writers like Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler. In truth, it's a cyber stew of different influences pulling from the works of new wave speculative fiction writers of the 1960s like Philip K. Dick and Harlan Ellison. Most modern cyberpunk tropes can be attributed to a trio of profoundly influential works from the 1980s: William Gibson's Neuromancer, Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, and Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira. Now, while these aren't the only influences on the genre, they are considered genre-defining and laid the groundwork for much of what we've come to associate with the term cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, especially as portrayed in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, is often defined by the phrase low-life, high-tech. It provides a critical lens to explore feelings of encroaching paranoia, the effects of rampant corporate greed, the consequences of rapid technological innovation, the ways transhumanism would fundamentally alter society, and much more. Literary critic Fredric Jameson said in his book Postmodernism, or the Cultural Logic of Late Capitalism, that cyberpunk is, quote, the supreme literary expression, if not of postmodernism, then of late capitalism itself, end quote. While that may sound needlessly stuffy or overwrought to some, all you need to do is look at the world around you, see the truth in Jameson's words. Case in point, corporate dystopia. It's not just a cyberpunk literary trope, it's all around us. As burned into our brains by Blade Runner and nearly every subsequent cyberpunk story, massive corporations, Japanese zaibatsus, and leviathanic conglomerates dominate every aspect of life. In cyberpunk stories, the only mom-and-pop shops left tend to be black market operations, night market noodle stands, or sex parlors, usually with robots, but honestly, it's not that far off from where we're heading. In order to facilitate insanely fast delivery times that we're accustomed to nowadays, some massive companies are planning to replace human workers with a fleet of drones that could both deliver parcels and serve as a surveillance system. Others are using AI-powered solutions to do things as dire as track workers' productivity and automatically fire them if they fall below a certain threshold. Our on-demand culture has created brutal working conditions, the likes of which we've seen satirized in films like Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You. But honestly, isn't it worth it so I can get a 10-pound gummy bear within 48 hours? The taste of human suffering. Billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are lauded for their efforts to innovate commercial space travel and their plans to establish lunar bases and Mars colonies, because as we all know, Mars needs moms. And the prospect of a decaying urban hellscape offset by the prospect of a better life off-world, well, that's about as cyberpunk as it gets. However, these billionaires are also under fire for not dedicating more of their vast personal wealth to fixing problems that we have right here on our planet. Because why worry about the fact that the bees are dying at an alarming rate when we can all just blast off on an arcology seed ship and start LARPing the expanse? Yeah! But speaking of problems on our planet, we're staring down the barrel of one of the most cyberpunk of all issues: imminent societal collapse. Like the burnt-out shell of Las Vegas in Blade Runner 2049 or the urban decay of Akira, our future will likely be one in which society as we know it has broken down, leading to new power structures filling that vacuum. Whether this occurs from the surveillance state reaching critical mass as police departments and school systems increasingly rely on AI-powered facial recognition systems, real-world versions of social credit systems like the one featured in Black Mirror's Nosedive episode, based on how you conduct yourself privately and publicly, or just from some good old-fashioned nuclear war, the world feels like it's heading increasingly towards a major conflict. After all, the doomsday clock is 2 minutes to midnight. and then Gremlins rules apply. At this point, you're probably tired of hearing the phrase fake news, but honestly, it's about as cyberpunk as it gets, especially with the advent of deepfakes. The US government is already deeply concerned about the threat that deepfakes pose to the 2020 presidential election. As proven by that Nancy Pelosi video that went viral, these AI-generated videos can make politicians seemingly do and say things that they absolutely did not do IRL. They don't violate Facebook's terms of service, they're the living definition of fake news, and they've even been shared by the president himself. In short, they're a perfect tool for malicious actors to destabilize a world that's already built atop a crumbling foundation. So, speaking of crumbling foundation, how is this collapse going to happen, you might be wondering? Well, it could be the result of catastrophic climate change and the mass extinction of biodiversity that some scientists say we're already in the midst of. Maybe we'll push those Boston Dynamics robots too far during one of their lighthearted test videos in which people relentlessly harass them. I mean, we've already seen what happened to that poor hitchhiking robot in Philadelphia, a city best known for cheesesteaks and sports-related riots. Or the best case scenarios that we're just in the Matrix and this is a really lousy plot twist in the simulation that Elon Musk has mused that we're definitely a part of. On the plus side, aesthetically speaking, well, the universe is right on track. This has been America's wettest 12-month period on record since Titanic came out, which bodes well for a perpetually rainy cyberpunk future that feels like it's straight out of Blade Runner or Ghost in the Shell or Altered Carbon or you guys get it, right? You get it. At least I can enjoy some white noise as climate change slowly ravages the Earth. But let's be real, if Cyberpunk 2077 series lore is any indication, we're just gonna be caught up in the midst of a series of elaborate corporate wars as media conglomerates use paramilitary organizations to wage proxy wars for control of our hearts, minds, and streaming service dollars. Also, probably like real estate. If you've ever played a game like Deus Ex or watched an anime like Ghost in the Shell, the notion of the future being full of highly regulated military and paramilitary organizations wielding terrifying technology should feel familiar. It's not that far off from what's happening in real life either. The United States government spent many years and millions of dollars trying to develop Iron Man-esque suits of armor known as Talos, but they've since scrapped that in favor of enlisting firms like Lockheed Martin and DEFI to build robotic exoskeletons that would reduce strain and ideally allow soldiers to move faster. Back in April 2018, a university lab in South Korea came under fire for working with aerospace and defense company Hanwha Systems to create technology that many feared would lead to autonomous killer robots that could be used in war. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to live in any Terminator movie at all, but especially not Terminator Genesis, or Genesis as true cinephiles call it, because it's not because it's a dark timeline, it's just because that movie sucks ass, just chugs. Meanwhile, Russia, not content to develop laser technology and sonic weaponry, is apparently training a beluga whale to become a spy. So not even SeaWorld is safe anymore, and that's not a joke, it's a very real story. Just look at this adorable agent of chaos. Who knows what secrets he's storing in his blowhole? Honestly, folks, we are one step away from the plot of Day of the Dolphin coming true. Just look at that movie poster if you want to know what I'm talking about. If we can't change the future, we can at least change ourselves. One of the hallmarks of cyberpunk storytelling is transhumanism and body augmentation, the process of replacing our low-tech analog meat with advanced cybernetics, implants, and artificial limbs. In China, scientists are working on a brain-computer interface, or BCI. It's a microchip that'll give you a form of limited telepathy by translating your brainwaves into tangible information and actions on a computer. Meanwhile, scientists at the University of Washington are making a way for people to telepathically play Tetris. Great! Researchers at Carnegie Mellon University are making strides towards creating what they're calling the first ever non-invasive mind-controlled robotic arm, which just chews a brain implant that most of them need in favor of a cap that translates your brain signals into real-world action. Thanks to innovations like CRISPR, the prospect of gene editing has become a reality, leading to a host of what many fear will be a trend of designer babies where parents pick and choose what traits they want their future progeny to have, like the Genesis chamber in Krypton or something. We just have to be careful that we don't wind up with a boss baby on our hands, because the last thing that we need is a little terror voiced by Alec Baldwin running a major corporation like the ones in Cyberpunk 2077. If this sounds bleak, it's because it is. We're staring down the barrel of a loaded gun and trying to figure out how to disarm it before it's too late. We're drawn to speculative fiction, especially the neon-bathed dystopia of Cyberpunk, because we want to process the world around us and make sense of the swirling chaos. And I mean, yeah, it's fun to talk about Elon Musk posting about anime, but we should also talk about how societal collapse is predicted to happen by 2050. While Cyberpunk has always felt like what's going to happen in our far-flung future, realistically, it's just a matter of decades away. It could very well happen within our lifetime, and it probably won't be nearly as stylish as what Blade Runner, Ghost in the Shell, Altered Carbon, any of those have supposed. This isn't me trying to scare you. The dynamic duo of escapism and philosophical critique that cyberpunk fiction offers us is worthy of consideration, contemplation, and consumption. But in doing so, we must also look at the world around us to ensure that we wind up in that topia, not dystopia. I'm so sorry. Because I don't know about you, but I'd much rather live in Blade Runner's Los Angeles than Mad Max Fury Road's desiccated wasteland. I get very thirsty, and also I cannot run. That dust would probably be murder on my allergies. Whew, don't want it. But tell me, what do you think? Do you think that we're preemptively doomed? What aspect of our cyberpunk future are you looking forward to? Let me know in the comments below and give me a thumbs up while you're there. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please share this video with your friends and hit that little notification bell so you never miss a new episode of Explainiac. If you have suggestions for future episodes, leave them in the comments or tweet me directly at Dan Casey. This is an evolving process and I want you to be a part of it. Now remember, not everything in life can be explained, but for everything else, there's this show.